So they have a system there that probably Kirk and others could talk about a little more, but it is kind of a daunting process, and one that is far more than that is required to get any other far more dangerous or potentially harmful drugs from a doctor in any way. So it's a lot harder to get access to marijuana than to morphine or whatever, any kind of other drugs like that. But I guess I'd probably said enough about my club and what we do there. And I got some cards if anybody's interested, and we're going to start mail order actually soon, which is a new thing and something that's not a lot of clubs are doing, so I'm looking forward to that. And I think that's it. And there you go, thank you.
I think what we'll do, maybe if you just have a few questions you'd like to ask Dana, I think we'll move through. Like I say, we'll open it up in the second half so you can kind of engage them. But if you've got any questions you'd like to ask Dana at this point about his club or how we've been able to set this up, some of those issues. Sure. If you have any questions, we'd like to bring up.
So did you find that the fears about that the community had about a lot of marijuana smokers coming around and hanging around the place? Did you find that just didn't happen?
Doesn't happen at all. We don't have any smoking on our premises. The building isn't set up like that.
Mm-hmm.
When people become a member, they have a code of conduct which they have to read and sign, and they promise not to resell their marijuana. They promise to use it responsibly and not to do proper machinery if they're impaired on marijuana and whatnot. And we also encourage them don't smoke right outside our place. But we have the Vancouver Seed Bank pretty much next door, and they have a Toker's Lounge in there where people can come and use their pot there. So some patients really want to medicate as soon as they get there. They need their medicine, and so they can go next door to the Seed Bank if they want to and use the space there, which is a private space and out of the public area. But I haven't really had any problems with people using the block or getting smoking pot right outside or anything like that. And the part of town we're in, I'm not sure. Well, it'll be noticeable that everyone started doing that, but it definitely depends on where you are as well as what kind of things people will consider that you do.
Dan, to ask you a question, do you think that you're very transparent? Do you think that's been really helpful in terms of the community and the policing that's taking place?
Yeah, we actually did have the police come and visit us. This was last year in the fall. There was a story from the community center about an underage kid who was 12 years old or something who had appeared high and said he'd gotten marijuana from the Vancouver Seed Bank, and the cops wanted to come and check that out. There's an 18 years age limit for the Seed Bank, and for the dispensary, we will sell to people that are under 18 if they have an illness and if their parents are aware, we'll sign and come with them. But there's certainly no 12-year-old buying weed at the Seed Bank or whatever. But while the cops were there, I took them to the dispensary and we just opened and I showed them all our marijuana and showed them our little safe that we had, and we chatted for a while, and by the end of the conversation the officers were telling me how to avoid break-ins and how to increase our security and what to do to avoid being robbed and that kind of thing. And actually they asked if we could have a meeting between us and the other clubs and the city and the police, and that meeting never really materialized, and my understanding is that every year or two someone in the police or the city says they want to have a meeting, but it doesn't ever really happen. And I think, I'm only speculating, but I think that's because if they have a meeting with us, they have to acknowledge that we exist, that they know what we're doing, and that they decided not to do anything. And I suspect they would rather it be that they were selling medical marijuana? We're just shocked to hear that. We couldn't believe they've been doing that for all these years in our city or whatever. So I think there's that kind of, they don't want to acknowledge us too much. They don't really want to cause this problem. There's no big push in the city to wipe out these medical marijuana clubs in Vancouver. So I think that they would just kind of rather just let us do our thing, and as long as we're not getting any complaints about us, and as long as this all seems good, and as long as the undercover agents the police send in aren't able to buy marijuana without their doctor's permit, they just kind of leave us alone. But there is this weird kind of informal, they could come down and pressure us about business licenses or about different things. They really wanted to cause troubles for us. There's plenty of bureaucratic ways they can do that, and they haven't really done that, and I don't think they're going to. So they've been open a while now. The other clubs also really haven't had this kind of problem. So.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be the case. This is very nice.
I was just wondering, you said the people you buy from normally want record keeping. So we have you're authorized by the government, is that right? No. Okay, sorry. But what efforts do you make to try and not buy marijuana from people that are in organized crime?
Well, Hell's Angels aren't coming down and selling a pound of pot or whatever. They have their own outlets and their own ways of doing things that are far bigger scale and different than what I'm doing. So, organized crime really, our club's organized crime. There's 3 or 4 of us working together to break the law. Under the definition of organized crime, I'm an organized criminal under that kind of thing, although clearly there's a big difference, right? But But the people we buy from, we do our best to know who they are. Most of them are people who believe what we're doing and who offer us better prices because of who we are. And we try to get as organic and clean and marijuana, know as much about the grower and how they're doing it as we can. So in that regard, I don't, like we're still a pretty small operation. We're buying a pound here, half pound there. We're not like getting big truckloads of weed coming in. So I just think we're at a whole different level than like the organized crime people that are growing warehouses full of bud and shipping it to the US or whatever. I don't know those people. Like we don't really meet them or whatever. They don't come down and try to sell me pot. So it's just a whole different thing.
So it's already shot
I know what you
at.
mean, but like the people that grow for us, we don't
They're like
buy
small
from bad
mom
people.
and pop.
They're mostly small people, and mostly they're trying to, they know where they're going to marijuana, they're trying to help us in that way, and they try to, we try to encourage them to give us low prices and we can pass it on to our people and everything, to our patients. So, yeah, I don't feel that anybody we can get our product with is any kind of, I'm thinking of them only got for the data. Most of them don't.
So it's more like patients to put it.
Yeah, that's what we try to do. And most of our employees actually are also patients if possible. It's not a criteria to work there, but it certainly helps and makes it easier if they're also a member, But I'm not a member, for instance. It's not always the case, but we try to make that fit just because it kind of works better for everybody if they are. Yes.
Yeah, do you always, don't call me down.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you always just sell to people with like a doctor's note, or do they have to have a health cannabis card?
They don't have to have a health cannabis card. We encourage them to apply for that, but all we require to sell you marijuana or other cannabis products is a note from your doctor with a statement of diagnosis,
Yeah.
and then potentially also their recommendation for marijuana, depending what your ailment is.
Okay.
But if you have say, AIDS or cancer, epilepsy, all we need is for you to confirm that diagnosis with us. And we call a doctor, make sure it's a real doctor. We do a lot of that kind of stuff because the police will come in with a fake doctor and you'll call the doctor, it'll be their buddy telling you that they're a real doctor. So, but there's ways you can check and verify, and it's very important that you follow those procedures in other clubs. Not so much in Vancouver, but across Canada have occasionally had problems because the new employee that day doesn't quite do it properly and they get fast talked by an undercover cop and then the next day they get raided. So you've got to be a real stickler. And it's hard sometimes, people who need medical marijuana, you can't sell you anything today because you're not, paperwork's not in order yet, right? You have to wait. That's hard to do, but that's how it has to be.
I just wanted to understand correctly. I could go to my doctor, and if he made a statement, whatever it is that he makes medically, diagnosing me, and then saying that he believes that I need it, just that note alone, signed by him, just a note, and of course you
Yeah,
go to the doctor.
and we verify
That's
it.
all, you don't have to do all this application, just bring the note.
Yeah, and we'll verify it, and other clubs are the same way, but we'll all those like, and that's not legal, by the way. I mean, we're breaking the law when we do that. You're breaking the law when you buy. I mean, the law is probably constitutionally weak. We're not really breaking the law, but as it's defined, whatever, it's not.
So
But it seems, it seems
That's
how
how
it
it's
is.
better.
Yeah, exactly.
The application doesn't make any difference either. Like,
No, but we do encourage people to go through that process and to try to get formalized, and certainly it makes a difference if you have legal, the police catch you with pot on you. They may or may not recognize your card from us, but they certainly don't have any legal way if you've got a membership card from
it
us.
takes a lot of onus
But
off
they
the
might,
doctor.
what's that?
This takes a lot of onus
Yeah, the
off the
form is
doctor.
written, and we said we all use a similar form, and it's
Yeah.
written in such a way as to
It's
try
not
to
in the
minimize
doctor.
the doctor's kind of thing. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
the police recognize the doctor first.
Yes, yeah, if you have an MMAR card and you're stopping, they certainly should, they're supposed to. And if they don't, they're not following what they're